On this episode of the Military Mindset for Business podcast, I'm talking with Mark Costello from Asset College. Now, there's a classic stereotype about infantrymen who get out and do security. Well, Mark did that, but not only did he go into security, he's created a sophisticated, mature, nation leading security training company that is absolutely kicking goals, providing great people into this space. So stick around and have a listen to Mark, the story of an infantryman who goes into security and does it the right way. Up next. Hello there. My name's Pete Liston, and welcome to this episode of the Military Mindset for Business podcast, which is the podcast for the veteran business community. And today I've got Mark Costello, former infantryman from Asset College. G'day, Mark. How you going?
I'm good, Pete. How are you this morning?
Mate, well, where are you dialing in from today?
I am Brisbane based, north side of Brisbane at North Lakes.
Love it, mate. Well, I'm here on the central coast of New South Wales. Just kick it off. Whereabouts did you grow up?
Started out in Canberra, then family moved all around the country. A little bit of time in PNG, and settled in Mergen, little country town in Queensland.
Mega, mate. What kind of work did your family do that took you to PNG?
My father was in the insurance business, so that was why we travelled around a lot when we were growing up.
Yeah, right. And
Lots of
how old were you when you were in PNG?
quite young up there.
Mate, I've never been to PNG, but I'd love to get over there and have a look. I've still got Kokoda Track very much on the forefront of my bucket list. But mate, what made you incline or want to join the army?
I spent a lot of time with friends and family that were Defence Force, Army and Air Force mostly. A couple of friends and family in the Navy as well. It just seemed like a good direction for me. Leaving school, I immediately went straight to Kapuka,
Yep.
and from there started off the career.
Man, Mergen is great country there. I spent a fair bit of time like Gayndah, Mundabra, then out at Emerald. But Mergen's just a great little part of Queensland, not that far from the beach, not that far from Brizzy. What was life like growing up out there?
We grew up on a property outside of Mergen, so it was nice and quiet. Big family. I've got five brothers and two sisters, so there was always people around to keep us busy. Small beef cattle farm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, mate. So, how old were you when you hit Kapuka?
I was still 17. I'd
Oh, young fella, mate.
literally straight out of school into Kapuka the next week.
Straight out of
Uh,
school. And how was your experience of, Kapuka, and did you find it easy?
I did find it easy. I'd spent a few years prior to that with the Army cadets, and
Yep.
I had a bit of an introduction to entry level military ideas, and yeah, when I got to Kapuka, it was a great group of people. We had some really good instructors, and yeah, great introduction to the Army.
Yeah, mate. And then so you're up at Singo by what, just 18th birthday at Singleton, something like that?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Right, mate. So
I-
tell us about what's the pathway into infantry like for you here?
Look, I was really enjoying my time in the Army. I put my hand up for every course that was going, every opportunity that came up. I was one of those people that even if it was a not so great job that was needed to be done, I'd say I'll do it because if I do some of these, I'll get other opportunities in the future.
Yep.
And that's pretty much how it played out. Is I got to do every opportunity that came past for different courses and yeah, different rotations.
So what years was this, mate? I know I'm going to probably guess your age out of this, but what year did you get into your first battalion?
99.
Oh, 99. So we're straight into Timor?
Unfortunately for me, the other guys got to go to Timor. I didn't. I
Yeah.
uh, I just missed that one by a couple of weeks. But yeah, the rest of the guys went over there and had a good time.
Yep. Did you get to do any trips or rotations or Butterworths or anything like that?
No, again, unfortunate on luck there. I'd injured my back prior to a Butterworth trip,
Yep.
and some admin issues prevented me from a couple of other opportunities I was trying to get overseas. So unfortunately, no, I didn't get any deployments. Not for lack of trying, but
Mate, but it's one of the sort of classic stories is infantrymen go into security when they leave the army. How many years did you do, and what was the trigger for you to actually get out?
look, I did 8 years total. Some of that with reserves towards the end.
Yep.
Um, the trigger for me was the back injury.
Yeah.
It was not enough for a full medical discharge, but it was enough to start thinking I need to do something different.
Yeah.
I was enjoying what I was doing. I would have loved to have stayed, but I needed to start looking for different options at that point.
Yeah, particularly the physicality of just general infantry life is tough at the best of times. So, mate, you're still a young fella. You're what, 25? You've got 8 years of army service under your belt. What are you doing next?
Look, I'm early on after a couple of years of security experience. I opened up the RTO Asset College
Yep.
to do security training, security education. We've grown that business quite significantly now from where we started was just doing entry level training and helping a lot of defence guys even back then get into the security industry as they transitioned out of defence.
Yep.
We now do a whole range of education around security, risk management, investigations. We've branched into cybersecurity. We're about to go into technical security. So essentially, the entire scope of the security industry is where we're at and where we're headed.
But when you got out, first of all, were you, what kind of security did you get into? You just get a job bouncing on doors, or was it security you went into straight up?
Yeah, look, I started bouncing on doors and doing some patrols and shopping centres and
Yep.
fairly routine, mundane work, which was what I was actually looking for at that point. But I very quickly got picked by one of the mid-sized security companies as someone that could organise people and get things done. And I progressed very quickly into an operations management role where I was coordinating a team of about 200 security, doing all those different roles.
Yep.
That was an interesting challenge. It was obviously the military experience definitely helped. I was familiar with the structure and the systems and routines, and able to get other people to fall in line with that approach to getting the job done.
Coming from such a structured background, being in the army as a digger and then going into these other larger firms running people, where did the inspiration or the spark that, there's a gap here, I can do something for myself and start my own business here? Was that always part of the plan, or how did you fall into that?
No, that was definitely not part of the plan. I'd actually after a couple of years of doing the 24/7 ops job, where it was literally 24/7 every night, getting calls at 2 a.m. in the morning. I moved away from that company and went looking for a change. I'd actually applied for a job as a casual firearms instructor with a business called Corporate Security Training.
Yep.
And the owner of that RTO said to me straight up, he said, you're overqualified. You're going to get bored and you'll be gone in 3 months. So I can't give you the job. And I said, look, I'm not going to get bored. This is actually what I want. I want to be bored for a little while. I want to do a routine job that I'm comfortable with, that I enjoy doing. And he said, no, that's not going to work for me. But how would you like a franchise?
Oh, really? Right.
And
Keep
so
going. Keep unpacking
yeah,
that.
yeah. Look, the franchise had never crossed my mind. It was never starting my own business. Wasn't something I'd considered. And he said, look, I'll mentor you. I'll give you some support, direction. Look, you're obviously got the experience to do this. We just need to build the confidence. And that's what we did. A couple of years of working with him when he owned his RTO. I ran the franchise for their business for Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, and Toowoomba.
Yep.
And then when he sold out of the business and moved on, the new owners that came in weren't overly interested in a franchise. They weren't overly interested in continuing security training. So we came to an agreement, parted ways, and I set up Asset, which took off from there to keep doing what we were doing, plus a whole lot more.
Mate, I love these. Anyone's listening to any of these, I love these sliding door moments, right? These little, quirks of opportunity or timing that create, opportunities for the future. So in your head, not looking for anything too complex. I just want a simple job where I can just unwind, or for whatever head state you're in, just want to go to work and do my job. Then this bloke's like, mate, this guy's he sees more in you than you maybe even seen yourself at that time, and has a chance, gives you a chance. How did the structure of that work, and how did you learn about business? Something that you've probably never been exposed with from ownership, cash flow, accounting, sales, marketing, all that side of it.
Yeah, look, I think I was lucky in my opportunities as the operations manager for the security business that, or whether you call it luck or just again opportunity, the some of the other staff for that business had moved on fairly soon after I started, and I'd had the owner of that business come to me and say, um, what do you know about payroll? The one guy in the business that does payroll has just walked out the door and he's not coming back, and we've got to pay the guards today. So it was very much thrown in the deep end and say, okay, well, I can use a computer, so let's work this out.
No cuff too tough, mate.
That's it. And I think I'd been given a lot of opportunities like that through the security business to learn I'd say some of the fundamentals, not in-depth knowledge. But then having a good mentor from the training business to help me get started and to explain things and show me what works and what doesn't, and why it works and why it doesn't. That really helped me get moving forward. And then I'd added my own research. A few years later, I'd studied my MBA and applied everything as I went through my MBA subjects to my business that I was running at the time. So it was a good opportunity to learn on the job.
Mate, I feel like you're an accidental business owner. Like you just sort of stumbled into it, or just tripped into it, or just like, oh, well, I'll give it a crack.
I think that was it. It's these days it's all I want to do. It's I don't know that I could be a good employee for someone else anymore.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
with you
sure I
there.
could. I'm sure I could, but
I just don't want to.
I like to run my own business. I control the direction that myself and my team go. I can pick and choose my team and work with the best people that I can find.
Mate, so Asset was born out of a little franchise that you took on doing some training in Southeast Queensland. Then when the head company was sold, you sort of were able to get a bit more of the IP, or took over that part of it. And here we are, Asset College today. Give us a detailed rundown on what does Asset College do?
So Asset College aims to be the high end of security training. There's a lot of organisations out there that deliver entry level security courses, but we deliver maybe that same course technically, but we deliver it in a way that is aiming to get good quality people into good employment, sustainable employment, with good quality employers. We then deliver a range of training for people to broaden their skills, to uplift their skills, to transition their skills from one organisation or industry to another.
Yep.
And we're working on filling all the gaps, because at the moment we're the only training organisation in Australia that broadly covers the entire security industry. There's no one else out there that covers operations, risk, investigations, cyber, technical, and we're developing some brand new niche courses, which partly help with the defence transitions as well, and police and emergency services transitions into security, and vice versa, around operational safety training. And my latest project, I'm working in that executive leadership level, where I'm developing a graduate diploma qualification in security, risk, and intelligence, which is a key piece in the industry that currently doesn't exist. Security leaders generally don't have any security or executive level security training. They usually have good leadership skills or good leadership training, or they work their way up through the ranks, but don't often have the particular knowledge and skills to be a director of a security organisation, or a senior executive on a security board, or a CSO. So we're broadly covering all of the industry. We're creating programs to fill the gaps that don't exist. We're looking forward to major changes in the future. Obviously, we've got a changing threat environment internationally as well as in Australia. So we're trying to uplift skills to accommodate or to adapt to that. And then we've got major opportunities like the Brisbane 2032 Olympics, where they're looking at having upwards of 20,000 security staff. needed for that event, which currently don't exist in Australia.
Mate, one of the things that I'm just picking up after you running through that, description of what you do, this is far more sophisticated and mature than guarding, than, protecting physical assets or
Yeah,
bouncing on doors,
absolutely.
or, this is looking at it, it's, defensive operations, looking at the full threat of, you know, vulnerabilities within, someone's business. How have you seen the security industry morph or mature from being that, big fella on the door, this physical guarding, to more of this robust, sophisticated, intelligent industry?
Look, I think one of the big misconceptions is that the big guard on the door is no longer needed, where in actual fact security in all areas is still essential. They may have evolved from the old school bouncers that dropped you on the footpath on the way out, to more of a customer service, work health, safety, protective role.
Yep.
Fundamentally, that person and that role still needs to be done. What we're seeing is the industry start to recognise that there is actually a need for higher level skills, not just in those roles, but there's other roles that previously didn't exist. When we look in the information security space, the cyber security, there's an incredible number of opportunities there that didn't exist 10 years ago, because there's the technology's evolved, the threats have evolved, and now the industry is playing a bit of catch up, trying to upskill people and transition those skills from someone who may have had experience with operational security into a more technical role. And interestingly, it's very transferable skills. The guys from defence bring with them a lot of skills that easily adapt into both the technical, electronic, and cyber parts of the industry.
Mate, I just want to really just knuckle down on that little bit a minute. And break some of these stereotypes about career paths for, let's just say, infantrymen or other, people from the ranks in particular, to get into the security industry. This is more than just bouncing. There is a definitive career path that needs, intelligent, and the kind of thinkers that the infantry just infuses into you about how to look at threats and how to look deeper into the situation. Because ultimately, it is like, it is about a layered defense.
It is absolutely, and those transferable skills are not always obvious to people. When you talk about a course like a cybersecurity course, the standard response is, "Well, I'm not that great with computers."
Yeah.
But the reality is, you are great with threat management. You are
So there's
great.
a way you think here.
It's the way you think. It's the way you analyze. All we're doing is, rather than analyzing a person as a threat, we're analyzing a virus as a threat, or a piece of code as a threat. And rather than, we're maintaining our perimeters, we're maintaining our observations, we're identifying, we're reacting, and when there is a security breach or an incident of some kind, those guys from infantry or most other defence backgrounds, they handle those situations calmly, controlledly, in a systematic approach, because that's what they've done over and over again in a different environment. So while they may not be great with computers or may not have the advanced technical skills that some cyber people do, the cyber people with the advanced technical skills often don't have the critical thinking, the analytical skills, the control under pressure that the operational security people do have. So there's a lot of transferability, and the reality of work environments these days is, like, I'm reasonably good with my technical skills, but when I work in the occasional cyber project, I'm not the technical person. I'm the strategist and the planner and the incident manager. I've got a team of technical people who are incredibly good at that, but they're not good at what I do. So
Absolutely.
so it's good to match the skills with different people, and the skills that we see from physical security, from defence, from corrections, police, all those sorts of roles, they actually transfer very well into that online environment.
Is Asset just a training college? Do you have any security deliverables? Are you actually doing that as an operational service, or is it just training at the moment?
Look, we're registered as a security business, and we have a very small number of clients that we look after, which are primarily friends, family, community groups. Uh, some clients that are individuals I've been helping for the last 20 years, mostly as a non-profit approach.
Yep.
So we're primarily security, but we do still have a foot in the door. We have developed networks with over 100 different security companies around Australia. We work with all of the major employers, and one of our key differences between us and other training organisations is that we put a lot of time into making sure that the courses meet the requirements that the employers are actually looking for at this point in time, so that we identify current vacancies and we select the people to train to those vacancies, as opposed to just training anyone that wants to be trained. So there's always an objective of linking to employment and providing that employment outcome, not necessarily just training.
Not just doing a course for the sake of doing a course. Mate, where do you can I tell you about you? Can I go next into your team? Right, how many people you got on your team at the moment?
We've got probably about 50 on the team as regular staff at the moment. We've got a few more that are casuals and contractors that come and go.
So as a training organization, how are you building your team to be at the cutting edge of new technology? Because surely the security industry is changing all the time, not only in terms of the tools that you use, but also the threats that are coming at you. How are you staying like cutting edge in front of this? Because there's got to be some kind of, forward thinking lag period to actually delivering it and executing it through a training module. How does your brain attack that problem?
Yeah, look, I'm a practice what you preach kind of person. We encourage our clients, our organisations to invest in professional development, both time and money, and people. So we as an organisation spend a lot of time bringing the team together, doing internal professional development. Every month there's something happening with the team that they get together online to talk about what's changed, what's new, what opportunities do other people see within the team. And then at least once, usually twice a year, we bring the whole team from all over the country together for a week, and we do bring in some external professionals that can provide additional perspectives to what we know, and then the team take all that away and debrief that and brainstorm how those opportunities can be rolled out into our training and support our customers.
So how do you feel about your career in the infantry and seeing the structures and seeing how the chain of command works to the way that you now deliver that same authority or delegation or mission command even into your teams? How much of it's come across, or how much of it is just not applicable in your workplace?
The methodology is very applicable, and I think any defence person that does a course with myself or most of my trainers immediately
They'll
goes,
feel that.
yeah,
They'll
they can
feel
feel
that.
you're in the army, weren't you?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
because it's that system of education works, and so obviously some of the content is very defence specific, so that's not so much carried over, but the methodology and the mindset of how to educate people and how to develop and uplift skills, systemized progression, making sure that you don't have a single entry point with no exit point. There always needs to be an entry point to a tree of options, and then from the options, there's got to be further development in whichever direction you end up going. So that I think I've carried over from my time in the army, and certainly is benefiting the business and benefiting the people that we work with.
About leadership, mate. How are you now elevating yourself into that? 50 is a big team, man. There's a lot of mouths to feed every day. You're putting the food on the table for a lot of families, week in, week out. How are you keeping yourself elevated into that strategy space and driving the business forward?
Look, I'm in the business every day. There's, I think it's again one of those possibly my personality, probably partly due to my defence experience, is that any job that my team can do, I can either do with them or I can do. If they're not there, I'll step in and take over.
Yep.
Even this week, we unfortunately had I think seven trainers off sick on the one day,
Yeah.
and I ended up back in the classroom teaching a first aid course.
Yeah.
which doesn't happen very often, but it means that I maintain my skills so that I can help the team when they need it. When we have bigger classes, I'll jump in with the trainers and help them run the class. Uh, the admin team that really drive the business, that maintain all the communications with everybody, that make sure everyone has the resources and details they need. Every day I'm having conversations with them, helping them out with little problems here and there, and trying to educate them a little bit more and build their confidence to make their own decisions, but knowing that I'm there if they ever need that backup.
Mate, it's funny you said that. Yesterday I got out. I'm on the Central Coast and I drove up to Newcastle to meet another veteran business owner, a guy by the name of Angus Thompson, owns a company called V2 Mining. Now, Angus, a really, really cool little business, or not a little business, but he builds drill bits for blast holes in mines. So the drill basically, drills the hole into the ore or the iron ore or whatever, the uranium, coal.
Yeah.
The drill bit goes down, explosive goes in, open cut mining, blows it all up. And I was just chatting to him about that same kind of humble leadership in terms of I can just get the job done. And he was mentioning that, there was someone out in Moranbah, which is, about 16 hours drive from Newcastle. They needed something done. And he just thought, you know what, I'm just going to get up there and just do it right now. So the CEO of the company chucks a couple of these drill bits in the back of his ute, drives 16 hours on site, turns up there mid-time the next day. And as he's dropping them off, the guy in the mine site is like, who are you? And he's like, oh, I'm the CEO of the company. I'm the owner. He's like, what are you doing out here? He's just like, mate, we'll just get it done. We'll just get it done. We'll help you out. We'll do what it takes to get the job done. I just find that kind of humble leadership is so prevalent in, veteran entrepreneurs. No ego, just get the job done.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And so it is one of those things that we did with defence. If there was a job to be done, get in and do it.
Yeah.
And that's carried on to everything that I do, both personally and with the business. If something needs to be done, don't wait, don't hesitate, don't think about it. Just get in, get the job done, move on to the next one.
Mate, I know when we had our initial discussion a couple of weeks ago, it might be now, we're talking about constraints of business and what it is that's holding you back from growing. Particularly with some of these opportunities that are out there with major events coming up, Australia Olympics, and it won't just be the Olympics; it'll be all the pre-Olympic events and the post-Olympic events and masters and all this stuff. What's some of your biggest constraints in business, and how are you trying to manage those problems?
I think every business has probably the two most common constraints, and that is cash flow management.
Always cash.
Every business struggles with that, and the way the economy goes up and down, events like COVID have major impact on business. Political decisions, even overseas, have impact on business, and all of that affects the day-to-day cash flow. That's obviously a major one for every business, small and large. My other one, which again I think is fairly common, is finding the right staff. We've got an incredibly good team. We have great relationships between the team. They support each other. Even though a lot of the staff are isolated, working away by themselves, we train all over Australia, so our staff are spread all over the country. When they get together or when they need support, they immediately talk to each other and work together as a team. But finding new people that see the value of that and want to be part of that as well is always a challenge. Finding veterans for us used to be a standard pipeline for new trainers.
Yep.
Army in particular, but most of the defence would send anyone out who was a corporal or a sergeant with at least part of, if not a full certificate in training and assessment. For the last few years, that's not been the case, and it's caused a bit of a shortage in our flow of people that may not have the qualification but have definitely the right attitude and experience for us.
Mate, the Cert 4, do you have any insights on why that was taken out of defence? Is it because I thought it was really just a no-brainer for everybody, within defence, and part of the learning culture that we had, that teaching someone how to teach or teaching someone how to train was just intrinsic part of soldier, sailor, and airman life.
Yeah, look, it still is, and the skills and knowledge are still fundamentally there. I think when every training package out there gets reviewed and updated about every 5 years, And the training assessment course updated in 2010, 2016, and then again recently in 2022.
Yep.
When the 2016 update happened, it was a fairly significant change to the package. The organisers or the Skills Council that implemented those changes tried to plug a whole range of quality issues that were happening in the broader industry by mandating
Gotcha.
additional components to the training package. That made the qualification harder to deliver. It made it the qualification itself less directly relevant to what defence personnel were doing. They still learnt the actual skills they needed to be trainers, but those skills didn't align with what the training package was.
Got it. Yeah. So it's
So
that gap between the
yeah, so
AQF.
yeah, and Defence RTO decided that they didn't want to make something fit that wasn't made to fit. So they stopped issuing the qualifications and focused on the internal training rather than the national recognised certificate, which is unfortunate for the transition of people coming out of defence, because that was quite a valuable inclusion. But yeah, it's since they stopped, they haven't gone back to doing it. And the 22 update that happened recently has got another range of changes and complexities that make it a little bit harder, but it's one of those courses that with the right support, the right mentoring, you can easily transfer your defence experience into completing that.
Got it. So ideally, if you're someone like me who picked up a Cert 4, or I think it was TAE 110 or something like that back in the day, just by doing courses and teaching courses and just as part of the course, if you've got that certificate and you're looking for a career, you should be knocking on Asset's door. But at the same time, what about what's it called? Recognized prior learning and the relationship between getting out of defence and that gap between you getting your Cert 4 to be able to work for Asset? Is it much of do you get a lot of credit for your stuff and you only have to fill the gaps?
There is some credit there. Recognition of prior learning's a little more complicated than most people treat it as. To do it properly, there is some gap training, and it's not questioning whether or not the individual has experience actually delivering training. It's making sure that experience aligns with what the training package specifically requires.
Mm.
And
Right. So this is a bit more
so
of a compliance structure, governance.
yeah, it's whether or not we agree with what those gaps are. The gaps are there, and we have to fit the framework. So there are some gaps, and fortunately for us in the training industry now, from the 1st of July, we've got a new legislative framework, or a new set of RTO standards, and that actually allows us to employ people now who are enrolled in and progressing through the training assessment qualification to work under supervision of another trainer. So we could have people who were in the process of transitioning, doing that gap training, partial RPL, partial gap training, actually working for us while we coach and mentor them, and while they complete their course.
Mate, what would your advice be for someone who's transitioning out of army about going into business? And like you, a lot of people don't start a business immediately from defense. You'll go out and find a job or find a different pathway. What's your recommendations or thoughts for people, on why or if they should go into this path?
The self-employment path is something, and I've had the same advice to every small business I've ever spoken to, is that when you start a small business, it's usually because you're really good at the job. You personally are good at doing whatever service you're going to be providing or selling, or you've come up with a product that you are an expert on that product. The majority of small business owners, although really good at their product, are not necessarily good at running a business.
Yeah,
So
this is important.
so there needs to be some form of whether it be a formal training pathway like a certificate for in entrepreneurship and new business, which was formerly called a certificate for in small business management, something like that, which actually teaches you how to do a business plan, how to do a marketing plan, how to do a cash flow management plan and financial forecasting for your individual small business. Something like that is definitely valuable. And if you don't have that, then you definitely need a mentor. You need someone who's been through that process that can actually talk you through all the pitfalls and hurdles and make sure that you don't fall into something that was easily predictable and avoidable had you actually known what it was.
Man, I think you really nailed a really important lesson there. And again, you hit it on the head. People start businesses a lot of time because they're good at doing something, or they love doing something. So they go in and they just start doing it. And you might get a few jobs here and there, or friends and family are in the neighborhood. But then ultimately you got to work out, you might become a victim of your own success because you're good at doing that thing. But then you got another mouth to feed because you bring on, another teammate, and then it gets complicated, right? Now the cash flow thing's critical. Now I've got to start doing selling. I've got to get more leads. More leads means marketing. What's marketing? What's
Yeah.
this stuff about branding? Who am I? And it's so much for me, I think you've got to fall in love with the art of business, regardless of what it is you actually sell or what you do, because business is its whole separate game.
Yeah, look, there's definitely two different types of people. Those that are good at running businesses and those that are good at doing the job.
Yeah.
And we've seen that obviously with defence, with our different rank structure and the makeup of defence. We've got our officers and we've got our ORs. In business, it's not too different. We need, in some cases, I'm probably one of the rare ones that I can do both, and
Yep.
and I put a lot of work into learning how to do both. But for a lot of people, as they start out, and myself as well, when I started out, I didn't know anything about how to run a business.
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate that I had that mentor who could say, "Here's a template for a business plan. Fill this in, and then we're going to talk about it and see if your plan's going to work or not."
And I'm gonna rag on my business partner Matt Mosley for a second. But when we got out of the army together, we started a business called Secure Windows. Because I heard on the radio one day, I was driving home down Anzac Parade, coming from Victoria Barracks, and I heard this thing on the radio that said, New South Wales government just passed a law to say that every apartment in the state needs a window lock. Stop kids falling out of windows. So I was driving along and I was like, man, there must be a lot of windows in New South Wales. So we kicked off a little business just putting window locks on, like never done it before. Matt to this day did not put one window lock on. Like we would have put hundreds of thousands of these on. I put thousands on myself, and we had a big team. But ultimately, it's that art of business. And when it comes to military training, I think there's some really significant skills we're great at. Obviously, people, operations, organization, leadership, we're really good at doing stuff. But I think the key gaps for me in business, cash flow and accounting has got to be the big one. Then sales and marketing. How do we move ourselves from being a soldier to a salesman? And can I just ask you there, how did you feel selling those first few times and valuing yourself?
Valuing yourself, that's a challenge. It's you almost feel like it's you're doing it because you just do the job, not
Yeah.
because you personally see the value in it. Changing the mindset to say, well, I actually have something of value that you don't, that is an opportunity for you, is a difficult mindset to get into. I think the biggest turning point is working out that the business isn't about you. The business is about your customers and their challenges and their problems, and all you're doing is providing them with a solution to address their challenges and problems. If you can do that, you'll always have customers, because people always have challenges and problems. If you can find the solutions, then you're in the minority.
Man, it's so insightful that you say that, because a lot of times when we sell, we think that we're selling is talking about us, our features, why we're good, what we're good at, all of the little statistics about our business. But ultimately, if you can put yourself in your customer's shoes and think of what problem do you solve for them, and how are they going to feel when you solve that problem for them, it just changes your whole mentality about the relationship you have together. I found it hard initially to sell and to ask for money, and I really undervalued what I charge for things. How did you go through that? Let's call it worthiness in business of being able to charge what you're truly worth for the quality you provide.
Look, I think again, I got lucky there with the opportunity and the mentor that I had. His business was already at that top end of quality and
Yep.
top end of pricing value.
So
And
you started there.
I got the opportunity to start there. I got to start
That's
with.
brilliant.
I had all the doubts. I had all the problems. I had competitors, or people who I thought were competitors back then, that were charging half or less than what I did, and they were doing the courses in half the time that I did. So I was losing customers to cheap and short alternatives. But again, that the value of that mentor standing in the background going, don't worry about them, they were going to go anyway. Let's focus on the ones that will come to us and that will get a job, and look forward, because and I absolutely see it now, nearly 20 years on, is that some of the people who I trained 10, 15, 20 years ago, they're now the senior managers and leaders of the organizations that employ hundreds, if not thousands, of people in Australia.
Mm.
And those people remember when I made them actually work for their qualification. They remember their first day on the job where they actually knew what they were doing, and the three people beside them who did the shorter, cheaper course didn't. So it's about building longevity in that value. It's not just a value for the one person; it's a value long term for the business.
And ultimately, get what you pay for. So, people who want a certificate, go to a cheap course. People who want skills, people who want to learn, people who want a career, then you get what you pay for in terms of who you're choosing. And you said something really interesting there. People who I thought were competitors. I love that analogy, because ultimately, mate, you go do what you're going to do. You go be you and let me be me, and I'm going to push on and run my business to the quality and to the level that I think it's worth.
Yeah, it took me a few years to get to that mindset. My first few years in business, I was stressing every day about seeing a photo of a competitor's class with more students than me.
Yeah.
And I was actually wasting time and energy on what other people were doing. And when I got to the point of realizing that I actually don't care about them, I care about me and what we do and what my students are able to achieve, then I all of a sudden had a lot more time to put into my customers, and that made a difference. And I honestly say these days to everybody that I don't think that Asset College has any competitors. There's a few other training providers. There's a few other training providers that may deliver the same qualification or may issue the same certificates as us. But as an organisation, we do things our way. We do it differently to most others, and we do it in a way that I feel is ethical, responsible, is meeting the needs of the people who I want as my customers. And I'm not concerned that some of the industry still go to those cheap short courses, because there will always be an element of that.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I can control, so it's not something to spend time on. But what I can spend time on is improving what we do, getting better standards, better outcomes, and helping more people, which is ultimately the goal.
I think that probably resonates with a lot of people, and there's probably a lot of people in listening that may still be in that state of looking over their shoulder, or worrying about what everyone else is doing. How long did it take you to morph out of that? Because for me, it was probably 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I'd say three, maybe 4 years, at least 3 years. And it was a very definitive turning point for me. It was I was stressed about something. I can't remember what it was. There was always something going on in business, particularly in the early days. And I just went home and said, I'm sick of seeing everyone else's achievements, problems, different ways of doing things. I just want to focus on me. And I made the step to go through and unsubscribe to everyone else that did the same course as me, unfollow everyone on social media, and said, look, my only focus now is me and my clients, my business. And for me, that was a very distinctive turning point in my mindset. And I noticed the return almost straight away.
I think that's one of the best lessons I've heard in a long time. The evolution, or maybe the maturity, or even, I feel like, I don't mean to sound as funny, but I feel like you are very self-confident, if not now powerful in your thinking of where you are in business now. Like, I'm just cracking on doing my thing. The world can do what it wants to do. I know who I am. I know where I'm going with this thing.
Yeah, and that projects across everything that we do. When I talk to my clients, and I talk to multinational security businesses now, and we talk at a level where there's a mutual respect, because I know what I can do. I know what my capability is, and as soon as I identify your problems, I'll help you fix those. And that's all they want, is they want the problem solved, the challenges to not be challenges. And it's a good relationship with other clients, other bigger clients and customers then.
And mate, this is why that last probably 3 to 5 minutes of listening to you speak is one of the reasons I'm just so passionate about veterans in business, and why the veteran business community as an organization exists, is to really share the message about why a veteran-owned business is different. Like, I don't necessarily think that we should get preferential treatment because we're a veteran. I wouldn't knock it back if we got a veteran procurement policy, or and I do advocate that. But that's the most important thing for me about veterans in business and enterprise, is the quality of the people and the way we do business at the back end. And it's the values, it's the way that we lived our life in the military. We now express it through what we do in business that makes us great business owners.
Yeah, look, one of the things I often say to my staff when they're doubting themselves as to, we've got a smaller class this week and there's someone down the road charging half the price. Maybe we should do a cheaper course or a discount. And the thing I'm always saying to them is that the value that we have is why people come to us. It's not price. If you compete on price only, then your business is going to fail. Yeah. And we know that 70% or more of businesses fail in the first 5 years. And if you dig into the detail of why that happens, the majority of them fall into the trap of focusing on the competitors or focusing on being the cheaper, the easier option for the customer, as opposed to being the right option for the customer. Sometimes you're better off having less customers but doing a much better quality than having large numbers of customers for a lower price. When you balance out the two, you feel better that you're getting better value, you're delivering better value. Your customers are actually getting value, and there may be less of them, but the quality is more important in the long run.
And mate, when you're not the cheapest guy on the block, but you're doing the best job, it doesn't necessarily matter if you're not as full as everyone else, because your margins are healthy, you're doing a better job, you're probably more profitable than the other guys. Plus, there is less things that can go wrong when you're doing good business and you're doing good work, mate. I'm gonna move into wrap up mode. Tell us what's on the horizon for Asset College and what's on the horizon for yourself in business or life.
Look, on the horizon for Asset College is continuing our growth phase that we're going through at the moment. We've developed a range of new courses where we're developing the certificate for and training assessment at the moment, which is hopefully going to be a pathway to bringing in some more defence trainers to come and support us and join our little team that we have. We are gradually expanding in every state. We're going to look in a little bit of training in the Pacific region as well, primarily around aviation and maritime security, which is one of our specialised areas. Me personally, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I've got a lot of projects on the go. I've always got a lot of projects on the go. So I'm keeping Asset moving and gradually working on my own little ventures. And I don't know where the future comes next, but for the moment, I'm pretty happy with doing what I'm doing.
Right, we'll keep cracking on. One of the things that we are doing with VBC as a collective is really looking to see how we can generate more opportunities for our community, being, branding ourselves and segmenting ourselves as veteran owned. And coming back to Brisbane 2032, we are really involved and we really want to get active into putting veteran owned businesses as a premier option, a premier provider for the services through that organization. So stay tuned. We'll have more information on that, as we look for these bigger projects and we look to, to really promote and support, the branding around what it means to be a veteran-owned business. Just a couple of things as I wrap. Mark talked a lot about, the journey into business and the gaps between learning, and that he was lucky to have a mentor and someone to teach him the ropes. But one of the things that we want to provide here in the veteran business community is that C-word community, because there are people like Mark and myself and hundreds of others here who you will find that you can learn and share off. one of the reasons I love doing this pod is because I learn something every day from everybody I speak to. But I've got a lot to share as well, and so does everybody within this community. So if you've been in the military, if you're passionate about business, maybe you're still in the military and you're inclined to think this is as a pathway for yourself, come and check out VBC and get involved and meet great people like Mark. Mate, I really appreciate busy business owner spending some time with me on a Friday morning. Mate, I really appreciate your time and thanks for joining me on the pod.
No worries. Thanks, Pete.
Brilliant. So if you are interested in training in the security industry or you're looking for a role as a trainer, mate, check out Asset College. Nation leading, mature, sophisticated business led by great veteran business owner, Mark Costello. Thanks, everybody. My name's Pete Liston. Let's call it a wrap there. Out.